Good morning, let's make some lockdown pita bread sandwiches. First of all, 375 grams of plain flour popped into a mixing bowl, and you make a little well in the middle because you're going to put in your yeast. We're going to go with 7 grams or 2 teaspoons of dried yeast. It does come in 7 gram packets, which is kind of cool, so you can use those, or you can weigh out on 2 teaspoons. This then followed by 15 grams or 1 tablespoon of sugar. I'm then going to cover the well up because I'm going to pop in 8 grams or 1 teaspoon of salt. And what you don't want is the salt hitting the yeast before you've put any liquid in, just because they're not good friends. 15 grams of olive oil, which is 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then I'm going to go for 240 grams or 240 mils of lukewarm water. Personally, I always weigh out the water because I find measuring jugs can be a little bit off sometimes. Then going to use my handle of the wooden spoon. This I kind of mix with this way because it doesn't get your fingers all dirty just yet. I mean, you're going to have to get your hands in there eventually, but I start it off with a wooden spoon to limit the amount of ming goes on my fingers. Then you start mixing by hand. Ideally you want to get as much of the flour as you can into the dough ball because it is quite a wet dough anyway. It's almost like a pizza dough, but not as such as a pizza dough, which was a real crap analogy, so sorry for that. Anyway, but then knead for about 4 minutes initially with the smallest amount of flour on the board. Only put flour in if you genuinely need to do it. It is wet. Now, once you've kneaded for about 4 minutes, you need to just have a little rest yourself and then set your timer and go on in for 6 hardcore minutes of kneading. Now, those 6 minutes, unless you're sweating at the end of it, you haven't kneaded enough. Once your 6 minutes are up, obviously put your hands down, wipe your brow, get your mixing bowl back and put a tiny bit of olive oil in it. The reason you're putting olive oil in it is you just don't want it to stick to the bowl. I always use the same bowl that I've mixed it in. I don't see a reason why not. It saves on washing up. Once you've oiled the bowl, get your dough, pop it in, and we're going to cover that with a couple of bits of cling film, and then we're going to put it somewhere warm for about 45 minutes or until it's doubled in size. Now you can put that in your airing cupboard. Our kitchen's quite warm, so I leave it there, or you can even put it in your conservatory. It's entirely up to you. But yeah, pop it away for 45 minutes, and then once it's doubled in size, we'll come back and see what we do next. When we come back, here we go. We're taking it out and then we're going to split it up into 8 pieces. With these 8 pieces, we're going to roll them into little tiny balls and then just pop them back in the mixing bowl. The reason we portion them up now, some of them you want to try and get them as equal as you can, really, because it's just going to make the bread better in the long run. Cover it with a towel and then just rest that for 10 minutes. Once that's rested for 10 minutes, ta-da, that's what it'll look like. Then we're going to roll them out on baking sheet. Now, just as a little tip, when you get your baking sheet, it all curls up like this. If you scrunch it up into a little ball and then spread it out, it tends not to roll up again, and then you can use it as a nice flat piece. So that's a nice little tip. I got that off the telly somewhere. Put some more baking parchment on a baking tray, and I've got a little bit of flour for dusting. So just dust the board with a tiny bit of flour, then pop your ball on. And then you're going to get your rolling pin, and you want to roll it out to about a 6-inch kind of circle-ish shape. The shape isn't necessarily massively important, but get it as close as you can. That goes on the baking sheet. Dust with a little tiny bit of flour, and a real small amount of flour, another baking sheet on top, and repeat the process until they're all done. Once they're all done, we're going to cover them again with a tea towel, and then we're going to leave them to rest for about another 30 minutes. Now, when they're resting for their 30 minutes with the tea towel over, we're going to get the skillet or a dry frying pan, and you want it as hot as you can get it. So turn it up and leave it on. Don't put any oil in. You need the pan to be bare. Once the pan's bare and really hot, you pop your bread on for about 20 to 30 seconds. And what's going to happen, if you look closely at the bread, you can see it start to bubble. And as it's cooking, it's creating these air pockets within the bread, which are literally going to start boiling with the steam and the water evaporating out of them. And that's what's going to give it its real light, fluffy texture. And you can see it starts to rise now. The bubbles are starting to cook. This skillet has to be as hot, so set your temperature to the maximum it will go. and pop it in and leave the pan on there for a while to really heat up, and it won't stick. Flop it over. There you go. And now if you watch again, it will start to puff again. And that again is more air expelling. And it'll only take 2 seconds to cook on this side. Well, it's not 2 seconds. It's probably about 20 to 30 seconds maximum. And then that will be cooked. There we go, nice and cooked. Once it's cooked, put it on a chopping board. And on this one, we've gone with lockdown ingredients. So we've got some mayonnaise, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, and a tiny bit of ham. Realistically, you could use Parma ham, chorizo. You could put prawns in there, crevettes, langoustine. It's entirely up to you what you put on. But we've just gone for a little summery lunchtime sandwich. Fold it over. Get your knife. Give it a massive whack through with the knife. Let's have a look at the centre. Lovely. And then myself and Imogen, let's give it a go. Ready? There we go. Sandwich. Eat. Nice. That's good. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you later.